Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
This podcast contains adult themes and language, and some of the things that we discuss may be disturbing to some listeners. In this podcast, we discuss sexual assault, torture, race, and murder. Listener discretion is advised. Please take care of yourself.
Let's get into the early life of Miles Bryant. Hit it, Beth.
Despite extensive media coverage of this case, specifically after the murder, we could not find any detailed information about Miles Bryant's early life. Although during one interrogation that I listened to, he mentioned that he was adopted. But we don't know anything more than that.
What we do know is that Bryant was born in the year 2000, and after high school, he spent some time in the National Guard. He started his law enforcement career in March of 2020 as a jailer with the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. And then in May in 2021, Bryant became a police officer for the Doraville Police Department.
Bryant also worked as a courtesy officer at his apartment complex. A courtesy officer provides surveillance and basic protection, theoretically, to residents and property, often in exchange for reduced rent or on-site housing.
Yeah, I mean...
This guy should not have been doing that.
No. And I also think that these courtesy officers are quite useless in terms of... I've never found one helpful.
I'm sure the apartment complex was like, he's a police officer. This is awesome, you know? Yeah. But a lot of them they don't even have any police experience, so...
They're more like, they're just security guards, essentially.
Yes,
yeah.
Right. But in any case, he should not have been doing this.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that this was his ministry.
No.
So many women have described disturbing behavior by Bryant. I was struck by that throughout my research in this case. Like, the nicknames they had for him, girl. So he attempted to break into the home of a 17-year-old girl with whom he attended high school, or attended school. I don't know if it was high school. And at the time, she was asleep in her bedroom when he tried to enter through a window.
Yeah, I think they were in high school at this time.
Okay.
It was in 2018. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, 17. Got it.
The police were called to the scene, and he claimed he had come to study with her. So he had to climb through the window, apparently.
Okay.
Although her parents chose not to press charges, he was issued a trespass notice and barred from the property.
Heck of a story that he cooked up, and it
makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
But between 2018 and 2019, Bryant broke into several teen girls' homes to steal their underwear. He also went into women's phones and sent compromising photographs and videos to himself without their permission.
They didn't know he was doing it.
They did not, which is such a terrifying idea.
Yeah.
That whatever you have on your phone feels so personal, and for somebody to go into it and send it to themselves or send it out.
Basically steal it.
Yeah, what a violation. And so he did this to many women, including women that he served with in the National Guard.
One of these women was a Quick Trip manager who let Miles use her phone for a few minutes because he was a police officer. He then went into a hidden album on her phone and stole a naked image of her that he texted to himself.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what he would do.
Which feels like it should be a crime. And I don't know. And these cyber sexting laws are something
it's all over the place.
I'm unfamiliar with, but it seems like there should be.
It depends on the state.
Okay. Well, he also obtained many photos and videos of women from phones that he seized during arrests, which is not something police officers should do.
That's pretty fucked up, yeah.
He would take the phones from the suspects and search them, then send the photos and videos to himself.
And not only women, he would also take men's phones and search them for sexual content that they had on their phones.
That's just, what an abuse of power of his position as a police officer.
He also took videos of himself sexually assaulting his girlfriend while she was unconscious or asleep and without her knowledge. He also took videos of her showering without her knowledge.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
A woman named Alasha Bates was a high school acquaintance of Bryant's, and the two reconnected in 2022 when he called her to try and get back together with a friend of hers. He ended up coming around uninvited multiple times. No thank you, sir, which creeped her the fuck out. And she stopped returning his texts and his calls. And she had him listed in her phone contacts as Miles the Stalker.
Yeah.
So that's it for a little background on him. Let's get into the timeline. What, Beth?
In 2022, Bryant was living at the Sterling Glen Apartments in Norcross, Georgia, with his girlfriend, Synovia. The two were longtime friends who dated for a few years. However, at the same time, he was also dating another woman named Avian, who he called his side piece.
Aw, that's so gross.
Gross.
Fuck this guy.
Yeah, it's so gross.
Not only is he doing criminal, awful things in terms of violating his position of power and women's privacy, etc.
He's just a terrible person.
What an asshole. So their relationship began in September of 2021 and lasted a couple of years. According to Avian, Bryant would come to see her more often than she would go to see him, and she had suspicions that he was cheating on her.
Synovia and Bryant broke up in June of 2022, but continued to live together for a while at the Sterling Glen Apartments. 16-year-old Susana Morales did not live at the same apartment complex, but she lived nearby and she had friends who lived there.
Susana has been described as an uplifting person who was nice to everybody. On the evening of July 26th, 2022, after spending the day with her family, Susana asked for permission to visit her best friend, Esmeralda Rose Castillo.
Susana's mother, Maria, approved of her friend Rose, so she gave Susana permission to go to Rose's house, a few minutes' walk away. However, Susana did not go to see Rose. Instead, she went to see a couple of friends that her mother did not approve of, named Kelly and Alyssa. And this is typical teen behavior.
Right. Yes, it is. So Kelly and Alyssa lived at Sterling Glen Apartments, a 9-minute walk away from Susana's home. Susana met Kelly at Meadow Creek High School, and the two had been friends for about a year. Susana met Alyssa through Kelly, and the two had only known each other for about a month. According to Alyssa, they would sometimes smoke weed on the stairs outside of her apartment.
Alyssa knew Miles Bryant and that he was a cop. On July 20th, 2022, Alyssa said that he offered her, Susana, and Kelly alcohol and edibles, even though he knew they were underage. This is a cop.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. Susana Morales' friend Rose also later recognized Bryant as someone who had once offered her and Susana a ride to the gas station, but they had declined.
Around 9:40 p.m., Susana texted her mother to let her know that she was on her way home. Kelly walked Susana back to the gate of Sterling Glen Apartments and saw her walking away in the direction of her home.
Security video from a daycare facility on Singleton Road nearby showed Susana walking along towards home. Axel Zaragoza, Susana's boyfriend, spoke to her over FaceTime several times that night. She had told him she would call him when she returned home, but she never called.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
One of Susanna's friends had a Life 360 app on her cell phone, and Susanna was sharing her location with that friend. Life 360 tracks location, but also uses phone sensors that can detect sudden changes in motion.
The app indicated that Susanna was walking along Singleton Road from Windscape Village Lane in the direction of her home when suddenly she was moving at 40 miles per hour in the opposite direction. So the police believed she got into a car. Then there was a crash alert, which indicated that the phone had suddenly stopped.
This happened at Oak Lock Trace, a little less than a mile away from the Sterling Glen apartments. Her phone then pinged at the location until it either died or was turned off. It's believed that Susanna got into, or was forced into, a car, and then the phone was thrown from it. But her phone has never been found.
One of Bryant's girlfriends, not sure which one, there were other ones as well, later testified at his trial that she talked to Bryant that night at Oak Lock Trace where Susanna's phone had registered the Life 360 crash alert. She said that Bryant only cracked his window a little bit when she spoke with him, but that she didn't see anyone in the car with him.
By 10 p.m., Susanna had not arrived home, and concern quickly grew. Maria called Rose, who spoke to Kelly and Alyssa, to find out where Susanna was, but nobody knew where she was. Because of the Life 360 crash alert, the friend with the Life 360 app believed that she could have been involved in a crash.
So she got her sister and her sister's boyfriend, and they went to go to the supposed crash site. After they saw no trace of her, they went back home and continued to search for her the next day.
Just like the anxiety building, she is supposed to be home. Where is my child?
Right.
Susanna was officially reported missing the next morning by her mother and sister. That same day, July 27th, Bryant filed a report claiming that his vehicle had been broken into and that his department-issued firearm had been stolen. Sometime later, Avion noticed scratches and a cracked mirror on his truck.
Months passed with no sign of Susanna. A neighbor described Bryant at this time as, quote, very normal, smiling, laughing, just living his life, unquote. Yeah.
Susanna's family has said that Gwinnett County Police Department did not take her disappearance seriously because they believed she was a runaway. And I think they presume that because she got in a car. The family said they, quote, begged Gwinnett County Police to look for her, but they told us that people aren't considered missing until after 48 hours, unquote.
However, Gwinnett County Police claims that missing and runaway juveniles are investigated in the same way, and that they spent that summer and fall gathering phone data, interviewing people, and speaking to officials at Susanna's school, as well as passing out a description of her and photos to all law enforcement agencies in the Southeast. In any case, the Morales family felt unheard and they were searching for Susanna themselves.
During this time, Bryant's high school acquaintance, Elisha Bates, was being stalked by a man. A neighbor's doorbell camera captured video of him trying to get inside her apartment several times. He even broke through her door when she wasn't home.
The man wore a hoodie concealing his identity, but in the fall of that year, Elisha was finally able to see the face of the man who had been stalking her, as captured on the neighbor's doorbell camera. It was Miles Bryant. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
Oh my gosh. No, I wanted to mention, I'm only laughing because this
the surprise, surprise.
This is,
That's why I'm
the
laughing.
surprise. But I wanted to mention that, well, Elisha testified at the trial, but like talking about frightened, she was visibly frightened when she was just looking at the footage that they played in court or playing her 911 calls. Yeah, she was shaking. I mean, this is traumatic. This is terrifying.
Yeah.
So she grew increasingly frightened when she learned that Bryant was a Doraville police officer. She did end up reporting him to both the Doraville police and to Gwinnett County police. But the Doraville police claimed that there was no proof it was Bryant who was committing, quote, any of these crimes against Elisha Bates.
Actually, they said
unquote.
any crimes against Elisha Bates.
Oh, that he was committing.
The way that they said it sounded like, were there any crimes?
Crimes?
They were like, there was no proof that it was Bryant. First, there was no proof. And then, who was committing, quote, any crimes against Elisha Bates, unquote.
Yeah, so nothing to see here. Move along.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention Elisha Bates was a Black woman, and we've talked about in cases past where victims of color encounter these bad people before they do the most heinous things, before they go on to do even more awful shit and aren't listened to.
People are screaming that this guy is bad.
Hello?
And the police are like, oh, no, it's fine.
Nah,
it's fine.
I don't see anything.
He's cool.
He's cool with me. So, yeah.
But nevertheless, supervisors did tell Bryant about the stalking complaint. And after that, the behavior magically stopped.
Wow.
Jeez. But understandably, Elisha did not feel safe, and she bought a gun and installed her own security cameras.
On February 6th, 2023, 6 months after Susana Morales was reported missing, a man out off-roading discovered skeletal human remains in a wooded area approximately 20 miles from the location where Susana was last seen. And note, Susana's family, by this time, they had not heard a word, not a peep, from the Gwinnett County Police Department about their missing loved one. And when Susana's remains were found, the family was contacted, what seemed to them like out of the blue, to provide a DNA sample to help identify some remains that were found. And then also at this time, there was community activism to advocate for justice in Susana Morales' case and then bring more media attention to it. And there were many civil rights and activist groups like the Gathering for Justice, which, by the way, was founded by Harry Belafonte.
Ooh.
And Hispanic United Alliance in Gwinnett County, who also advocated for and supported the family. And they were active in organizing demonstrations and protests to sort of call out the Gwinnett County PD for what looked like some fuckery because this girl is a brown girl. Why isn't anybody looking for her? And this is fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah, they were not communicative with the family. The family felt abandoned, really. So the remains were transported to the Gwinnett County Medical Examiner's Office, where they were confirmed to be those of Susana Morales. Due to the advanced state of decomposition and skeletonization, the medical examiner, unfortunately, could not determine the exact cause of death.
However, the absence of clothing or personal belongings with the remains indicated that Susana's body had been left naked in a secluded area of the woods. Given these factors, her death was listed as, quote, suspicious for homicidal violence, unquote.
Near Susana's remains, investigators found a firearm, which belonged to Miles Bryant, the same gun he reported missing the day after Susana disappeared.
Now let's get into the investigation and the arrest. So investigators obviously honed in on Bryant as a suspect. During the investigation, it was discovered that the cell phone records placed Bryant's cell phone in the wooded area where Susana's body was located the day after Susana disappeared and the day that Bryant reported his gun missing. Oh, got him.
It was also learned that Bryant searched some databases of license plate readers to see if and where his license plate had been captured in Gwinnett County. During questioning, he was confronted about inconsistencies regarding his missing service weapon and how it ended up near the remains of Susana Morales.
Well, you see, what happened was, you're cooked, sir. So on February 13th, 2023, Miles Bryant, who was 22 years old at this time, was arrested on suspicion that he had moved Susana's naked body into the woods after her death and lied to authorities about his involvement. He was charged with concealing the death of another and making a false report of a crime.
Bryant was immediately fired from the Doraville Police Department, and the department released a statement referring to him as a former officer and expressed their cooperation with the ongoing investigation by the Gwinnett Police Department. Not long afterwards, Bryant was hit with additional charges, including murder and kidnapping.
I have to think that part of the delay in charging him with murder and kidnapping initially, I mean, it would have made the police department look so bad if their employee was charged with this shit, you know? So
it could be, but I also think it might have been just, they want to get him off the street, so they're going to charge him with this charge first, and then once they have enough proof of the other charge, they'll charge him with that.
So when Alasha Bates saw news reports that Miles Bryant had been arrested and charged in Susanna's case, she was stunned, saying to her mother, quote, "It could have been me," unquote.
It very well could have been her.
Absolutely. What other conclusion would you
make?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now let's get into the trial. Hit it, Beth.
Bryant was charged with malice murder, felony murder, kidnapping, criminal attempt to commit rape, and false report of a crime. Ahead of jury selection, Bryant rejected a plea offer from the prosecution, which was dumb.
I think it is really stupid, but I also think he is so confident in himself. Like, seriously. He is.
The interrogation tape I listened to, he was like super confident. They presented him with the evidence and he was just like, "No, I didn't do that."
Aw, come on, bro. Now, Beth, you normally don't like listening to these guys talk and pontificate.
No.
How did you get through it?
I was, how did I get through it? I was trying to get more information about his early life. Mm-hmm. I was like determined to get more information. So I listened to it to find that kind of information. But
wow. Thank you. Thank you for the work you did. You
didn't get much.
I know. Gosh. So when the trial began on June 5th, 2024, jurors heard from Susanna's mother, Maria, who tearfully recounted the night her daughter didn't answer her calls and never came home, as well as the painful several months of not knowing what happened.
The jury also heard testimony from Bryant's mother, his ex-girlfriends, and a cellmate. Gwinnett County Police Lieutenant Javier Biggers, one of the key investigators in Susanna's case, testified, breaking down in tears multiple times while on the stand.
Wow. He said he neglected his family to keep looking for Susanna and followed up on every lead Susanna's sister Jasmine informed him about. He discussed how he spent many late nights canvassing and searching for Susanna, and he felt a particular connection to the case, believing the teen was taken against her will.
Lieutenant Biggers said, quote, "The anguish and sadness that the mother felt touched me deeply. I have a daughter about the same age, and my wife is Hispanic. I felt it was my duty to try to find her, being a parent, and very worried about your child," unquote.
I felt a way about this quote when I first read it. It sort of reminded me of as a man with a wife who's a woman, or, know, when
that kind of thing.
Men try to explain away sexism. But I was glad that he said all of those things to let us know I saw her as a human being from day one, period. I think we all should automatically do that. But
we should.
Don't. So I'm glad he explained why he wanted us to understand that.
Yeah, so I think a lot of times people don't understand unless they see something of themselves in somebody else.
Yeah.
And he saw something of his family in this, what was going on with Susanna.
We're glad he did, because he didn't give up on trying to get to the bottom of the case.
Right. But we should see everybody, every person as valuable and worth searching for and spending this much time trying to find.
You said it so beautifully. So phone evidence showed Bryant searched for news stories about Susanna's case, including about investigators' discovery of the victim's body, and that he also searched, quote, "How long does it take a body to decompose?" unquote, and, quote, "How are you ID by dental records?" unquote.
That's not suspicious
moves.
at all. Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Don't
he
be
did some
suspicious.
really-
Don't be
Don't be
suspicious.
suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Yeah, for a police officer, he did some really dumb stuff.
Yeah. Don't they go to an academy to learn how to do this job?
Because the medical examiner was unable to determine how Susanna died due to the condition of her skeletal remains, Bryant's attorney told jurors the victim may have died of a drug overdose, and the prosecution's case was based solely on circumstantial evidence.
It's annoying, but I think if anybody was doing their job trying to defend this person, they'd have to say that. Yeah, that's the system.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner? You may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
But during closing arguments, defense attorney Tracy Drake admitted Susanna was with Bryant in his vehicle that night and claimed the defendant lied about losing his gun in the woods because he feared for his job.
I was stunned when I read that.
That's a bad. Oh man,
Yeah.
if you are the guilty and get this around the electric chair, what? Worried about his job more than a human that he's supposed to protect and serve as law enforcement? Fuck out of here.
Yeah. Drake stated that didn't make him a killer, saying, quote, "We do know that Miles left her in the woods. We don't know if she was unconscious at that time or if she was dead. We don't know that he did anything to her to cause that," unquote.
And on June 12th, 2024, Miles Bryant, now 23, was found guilty on 4 of 5 counts. He was convicted of malice murder, felony murder, kidnapping, and concealing the death of another. But he was not found guilty of criminal attempt to commit rape. He was also convicted of filing a false report over allegations he lied and said his gun had been stolen.
And I think the only reason that he was found not guilty of the rape was because there wasn't enough evidence.
Sure.
But, he probably did it.
Yeah, I mean, well, I was just thinking of the patterns. His pattern of behavior, as we sort of talked about in his early life and the timeline, is that he had a pattern of sort of sexually inappropriate behavior and crossing boundaries. And I just, based on what we know he did in the past, I don't think it's unreasonable to speculate that she was sexually assaulted, although we don't have proof.
We don't have proof. Yeah. So that's why.
Yeah.
Anyway, following the guilty verdicts, Special Prosecutor Brandon Delphant stated that Bryant deserved the maximum punishment, calling him a predator, a monster, and what goes bump in the night.
Oh. During the sentencing hearing, members of Susana Morales' family gave emotional victim impact statements, and they had me in tears. They expressed gratitude for the conviction, but shared that the pain of her loss continues to haunt them daily.
The judge, visibly moved, spoke directly to Susanna's mother, expressing hope that she might find some measure of comfort, if not full closure.
When given the chance to speak, Bryant offered a very brief statement to the courtroom, quote, "I just want to apologize to everybody, to the victim's family. That's it," unquote.
Whoops, my bad.
Yeah, he could have not said anything. I mean, we just didn't need it.
No. Judge Adkins imposed a life sentence without the possibility of parole for the murder charges, along with an additional 12-month sentence to be served consecutively for filing a false report.
Mm-hmm. Now that's it for the case. Where are they now? Well, Bryant is currently incarcerated at the Georgia Diagnostic and Classification State Prison, GDCP. It's a Georgia Department of Corrections prison for men located in Butts County near Jackson.
Susanna was survived by her mother and sister. They expressed their anguish and suffering they've endured during their victim impact statements. The family and community called for changes in police procedures for missing minors, so this doesn't happen to anyone else. The pain and impact this disappearance and murder has had on the family and the wider community is profound and still persists.
All right, so that's it for the case. We're going to get into our thoughts. Feel free to let us know what you think. Beth, what do you think?
So it's hard to know what went wrong with this guy when we know nothing about his childhood. But I don't know how he ever became a police officer.
Yeah, it's kind of a head scratcher.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, his behavior as a teenager, especially the incident when he tried to break into that girl's bedroom.
Sure.
And he was trespassed from the home. That should have alarmed police.
Yeah.
You know, when they were looking to hire him.
Yeah.
I know that they didn't find out about the photos and videos that he stole from the women's phones until they were investigating Susanna's murder. But Alasha's report about his stalking behavior should also have alarmed them, you know?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I think this guy probably would have become a serial killer had he not been caught. He had all the hallmarks.
Yeah, just sort of, again, considering the patterns.
Yeah.
It's hard to ignore what we as true crime consumers understand to be so commonplace when this is the pattern that precedes something like a serial murderer.
Yeah.
But I wholeheartedly agree with you, Beth. Wow. The acts of this police officer were treated like he was just one bad apple. It was like the Gwinnett County Police Department just refused to be like, well, there's nothing really wrong with how we do policing. Like, police are still good. It's just this one bad one. And that just feels so not accurate.
And then they just wash their hands of him immediately. But, you know, they had not done anything when Alasha complained about him. So fuck those guys.
Nothing other than saying, hey, do you mind not doing that anymore?
Yeah.
And it just seems it just absolutely not enough. Just clearly it's a systemic thing. And I know that there's that thin blue line bullshit and, you know, back the blue and what do they call it? The blue veil of silence or whatever, all this systemic stuff. And, you know, reporting bad cops is not easy to do for a civilian. But Alasha Bates did what she had to do to reach out to the right departments. She called more than one department and conveyed that she was being harmed and this could lead to harm to others in the community. I was struck by the multiple failures of the multiple systems.
Yeah.
Especially the one about reporting missing and murdered kids. And I mean, if she was a minor, I'm just so frustrated that they refused to let the family file a missing persons report immediately.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Right, because time is of the essence and opportunities for a better outcome were lost. And I think that's on law enforcement.
Yeah, for sure.
They seem to conclude that because she got in this car, that she was just a runaway.
Yeah.
But if Susana Morales was, you know, Suzanne O'Brien, you know, a 16-year-old white girl who went missing, my sense is there might have been a different sense of urgency. At the time Susana was missing, there were other missing and murdered Latinx people in the community who were not given the care that the community felt they deserved from the police department and
not surprised,
criticized the police department for their track record for sort of, again, we're in this case with similar circumstances and troubling outcomes. And I think there are fair criticisms against the Doraville PD. You know, there was no investigation into the Bates case before Susana's death, but there's sure shit one after.
Yeah.
And the Fall Line, which is an amazing podcast, which we've shouted out many times before. I'm going to do it again. Did an amazing job putting out an episode about this case kind of in the midst of when the trial was happening. And they got audio of press conferences and audio of the protests. And one person I heard speak, I can't remember who said this, but it was something along the lines of, everyone in this place, you know, like, how many of you have kids? Okay, so imagine if your baby was missing for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes, an hour, a day, 2 days, a week, a month, 2 months. And I just thought, this exercise is just an exercise, but unimaginable for me.
Yeah.
It really put it into perspective for me. I don't understand this pain, this loss, but it is unimaginable. Susana really seemed like she had an amazing family and friends who loved her a lot, deeply. And in an instant, she was gone from their lives. And my heart breaks for her mom and for her sister and everybody who loved her. And just rest in paradise to Susana Morales.
Beth, where can the people find us?
Our website is fruitloopspod.com, and we use Fruit Loops Pod for all of our social media.
This is a weekly podcast, and new episodes drop every Thursday. So until next time, look alive, y'all. It's crazy out there.